April 1453. Constantinople stands surrounded. Across the plain of Thrace, campfires stretch as far as the eye can see, a sea of flickering orange beneath the dark sky. 80,000 Ottoman soldiers wait for their young sultan's command. Drums beat slowly through the night, and the sound carries across the valley to the city walls. On those walls walks Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, the last emperor of Byzantium. He is 49 years old, tired but steady. His empire is now just a city, its once great lands lost to time and conquest. With him are his captains, Greeks, Genoese, and Venetians, men who know this may be their final stand. They look out over the plain, watching the fires of the Ottoman camp. Inside the city, life is a mixture of faith and fear. Markets are empty. People gather in churches, lighting candles and praying for deliverance. The bells of the Hagia Sophia toll across the skyline, echoing through narrow streets where children play in silence. Priests bless soldiers as they march toward the gates. Monks chant hymns in the open air, their voices rising above the distant thunder of drums. Beyond the walls, Sultan Mehmed II oversees the placement of his cannons. At only 21 years old, he commands one of the most powerful armies in the world. Engineers position great bombards, massive guns cast in bronze, along the ridge of the Lycus Valley. The largest among them, built by the Hungarian craftsman Orban, requires 60 oxen and 200 men to move. It fires a stone ball weighing more than half a ton. By the emperor's estimate, there are perhaps 7,000 men defending the city, including sailors, mercenaries, and volunteers. Against them stand 10 times that number. But Constantinople's walls are thick, triple-layered, and nearly impenetrable. For 1,000 years, they have withstood every siege. As night falls, both sides prepare for the inevitable. Prayers are said, torches dimmed, swords sharpened. Then, in the gray light of dawn, the silence breaks. The first Ottoman cannon roars. Its echo rolls across the sea, shaking windows and towers. The ball crashes into the outer wall, sending dust and stone flying. The last siege of Rome has begun. The bombardment begins in full on April 7. For the next week, the ground never stops trembling. Orban's great cannon fires 7 times a day, each blast shaking the earth like thunder. The sound echoes across the Bosporus, and fishermen miles away feel it in their bones. Each shot leaves a crater in the outer wall. Stones split, towers crack, and dust clouds rise over the city. Yet every night the Byzantines repair the damage. Civilians carry stones from ruined houses to the ramparts. Monks fill gaps with earth and timber. Women bring water and food to the soldiers. Even children haul baskets of sand to strengthen the defenses. Inside the city, Emperor Constantine walks from gate to gate, encouraging his men. At his side is Giovanni Giustiniani Longo, the Genoese captain commanding roughly 700 professional soldiers. They man the land walls, the city's strongest line of defense, where the fighting is heaviest. The rhythm of battle settles into something almost mechanical. Daytime belongs to the guns, night belongs to the workers. When the cannons fall silent after sunset, hundreds of lanterns appear along the walls as citizens rush to patch the damage before morning. The air smells of smoke, iron, and sweat. Occasionally, the defenders fight back. A sudden sortie bursts from the gates to burn Ottoman siege engines or ambush workers digging trenches. These attacks are brief and costly, but keep morale alive. The Byzantines also dig countermines to collapse Ottoman tunnels. In one encounter underground, Greek engineers use smoke and pitch to suffocate enemy sappers, sealing the passage with rubble. But no matter how hard they fight, the pressure never ends. The cannons pound relentlessly. The defenders begin to lose track of days. Sleep becomes rare. The wounded fill the churches, their moans mixing with the chanting of prayers. Supplies run low and food is rationed. Horses are slaughtered for meat. On the other side, Sultan Mehmed watches carefully. He adjusts the position of his guns, moves his infantry closer, and orders his men to fill the moat with debris. The plain before the city becomes a field of shattered wood, broken stone, and the dead. By the end of the second week, parts of the outer wall have collapsed. The inner defenses still stand, but the men behind them are exhausted. Each blast shakes their confidence as much as the walls. In the streets of Constantinople, people begin to sense what the soldiers already know: the city is alone. No ships arrive from the west. No help comes from Rome. The last empire of the East stands surrounded, its faith stronger than its strength. At night, the fires from the Ottoman camp light the horizon, and the bells of Hagia Sophia toll again. The defenders whisper that only a miracle can save them now. While the walls shake from bombardment, another battle unfolds at sea. Across the mouth of the Golden Horn stretches a massive chain, each link as thick as a man's arm, blocking entry to the harbor. Behind it lie the last Byzantine and Allied ships, perhaps 20 in all, guarding the city's lifeline. The Ottoman fleet under Admiral Baltoglu tries again and again to break through. Galleys row forward under fire, only to be driven back by Greek cannon and flaming arrows. The defenders cheer as enemy ships sink or retreat. For the first time, there is hope. Then comes April 20th. On the horizon, 4 Christian ships appear, 3 Genoese grain vessels and 1 Byzantine transport, all heavily loaded with supplies. The Ottoman navy moves to intercept them. What follows is one of the fiercest sea battles of the siege. Hundreds of Ottoman galleys surround the convoy, but the larger Christian ships fight back with cannon and crossbows. Thousands of people watch from the city walls as smoke and fire fill the harbor. After hours of combat, a shift in the wind gives the Genoese the advantage. They catch the current, ram through the Ottoman line, and slip safely behind the chain. The city erupts in celebration. Church bells ring, soldiers shout, and the emperor God. For one day, Constantinople feels alive again. But the victory humiliates Sultan Mehmed. Furious, he strips Baltoglu of command and begins planning something unthinkable. If his fleet cannot break the chain by sea, it will go around it by land. Within days, Ottoman engineers build a wooden roadway over the hills behind Galata. Logs are greased with animal fat to act as rollers. Over several nights, 70 ships are hauled out of the water, dragged across the ridge, and lowered back into the Golden Horn behind the Great Chain. At dawn, the people of Constantinople wake to an impossible sight. Ottoman sails fill the inner harbor. The enemy has appeared where none should be. The morale that had risen collapses again. The Byzantines rush to build new defenses along the sea walls, but it's too late. From now on, the city faces attack from every direction: land, sea, and sky. The chain that had protected the harbor for centuries has been outflanked. The defenders look out across the water and see the truth. They are surrounded. By mid-May, the Siege of Constantinople has entered its final and most desperate phase. The walls are cracked and scorched. Every street near the ramparts is lined with piles of stone, timber, and sandbags waiting for repair. Inside the city, food runs out. Bread is rationed. Horses and dogs are slaughtered for meat. The once bustling markets are empty. Disease spreads through the narrow alleys, carried by smoke, filth, and exhaustion. No one sleeps. Ottoman cannons fire day and night, shaking the city without pause. When the guns fall silent, everyone listens, waiting for the next strike. The silence is almost worse than the sound. Outside the walls, Ottoman sappers dig tunnels beneath the fortifications, trying to plant gunpowder and bring down the towers from below. Inside, the Byzantines counter with smoke and fire. They flood the tunnels with water, throw burning pitch into the shafts, and collapse them with picks and hammers. These underground battles are fought in total darkness, men choking on smoke, stabbing blindly with knives. Emperor Constantine sends one last appeal for help to Venice and Rome. Messengers slip through the blockade at night, carrying letters written with trembling hands. But no reinforcements come. Europe is too far, too divided, and too slow. The defenders are on their own. Giustiniani Longo, the Genoese commander, is everywhere. He moves along the ramparts shouting orders, directing repairs, rallying men where the fighting is worst. During one bombardment, a shard of stone hits him in the shoulder, tearing deep into his flesh. He refuses to leave, his arm bound tightly in cloth as he continues to command from the walls. Ordinary citizens take up weapons, blacksmiths, merchants, even priests. Children carry buckets of water to the ramparts, while monks swing hammers beside soldiers. The clergy organize processions, carrying icons and relics along the walls, praying for divine intervention. At night, the city glows with thousands of candles, flickering against the ruins. Each dawn brings new destruction. Towers collapse, gates splinter, fire spread. Yet every time the sun rises, the Byzantines are still there, standing behind their broken walls. The people know the end is close, but no one surrenders. Beyond the moat, Mehmed II tightens his lines. His men fill the trenches with rubble to make paths for assault. New siege towers roll forward under wooden cover. Cannons move closer. Every day, the Ottoman lines creep nearer. By the third week, even the bravest defenders begin to sense what the emperor already knows: the city cannot hold much longer. But still, Constantine walks the walls, calm and determined. To his soldiers, he says the same simple words: "We have done all that men can do." The empire is dying, but its spirit remains unbroken. Both sides now prepare for the final storm. May 28, 1453, the last night of Byzantium. As the sun sets, Emperor Constantine XI orders every candle in the city to be lit. From the harbor to the palace, from the smallest chapel to the great dome of Hagia Sophia, light fills the darkness. The faint glow spreads across the skyline, a final sign that the city of Constantine is still alive. The emperor gathers his captains and commanders inside the palace one last time. There are no new orders, no more plans, only words of gratitude and faith. He thanks the Genoese, the Venetians, and the Greeks alike for standing together. Many know they will not live to see another dawn. After the meeting, the people of the city flood toward Hagia Sophia for one final service. Inside, the great church is crowded. Soldiers, nobles, merchants, and beggars standing side by side. The marble floor is worn smooth by centuries of prayer. The air smells of incense and sweat. Hymns echo beneath the dome as priests carry icons and relics, blessing each person in turn. Constantine kneels before the altar. When he rises, he turns to the crowd and speaks softly. He asks forgiveness from his people, from his commanders, and from God. There are no speeches, no ceremony, only silence and tears. Then he leaves, dons his armor, and rides to the walls. Outside, the Ottoman camp burns bright with torchlight. Mehmed II rides among his troops, inspecting ranks that stretch for miles. He promises them the city, its treasures, its gold, its glory. His officers kneel and salute. The drums begin again, slow and steady, echoing like thunder across the valley. In Constantinople, the bells ring through the night. Priests walk the walls with crosses, blessing the soldiers who wait behind the shattered battlements. Some pray aloud, others sit in silence, gripping their swords. The wounded lie in rows, whispering prayers of their own. Shortly before midnight, the guns fall silent. The air is still. Both armies hold their breath. Constantine stands at the gate of St. Romanos, looking out at the faint glow of the Ottoman camp. Behind him, his captains wait. Ahead of him, 80,000 men prepare to storm the walls. The emperor crosses himself, raises his sword, and says only, "God's will be done." The final night of the empire passes without sleep. Both sides wait in the darkness, listening for the first cannon shot that will decide the fate of the world. 1:30 a.m., May 29, 1453. The final assault begins. The silence of the night is broken by the thunder of cannons. Dozens fire in unison, their flashes lighting the plain outside the city like lightning. Each blast shakes the walls and throws dust into the air. Inside Constantinople, The defenders brace themselves for the last fight. The first Ottoman wave goes forward, the Azebs, irregular troops armed with spears, axes, and ladders. They rush toward the walls shouting prayers and war cries. Their orders are simple: fill the moat and wear down the defenders. Arrows rain down from the ramparts and stones crash through their ranks. The Azebs climb over each other's bodies to reach the base of the wall, only to be cut down by sword and fire. Boiling oil and burning pitch are poured from above. Still, they come. For 2 hours, the defenders hold. The moat begins to fill, not with dirt or wood, but with the dead. Then comes the second wave, the Anatolian infantry, better armed and more disciplined. They move forward behind wooden shields, pushing across the bodies of the fallen. Ottoman drums pound out a steady rhythm, pushing them on. The air is thick with smoke and gunpowder. The defenders fire crossbows, arquebuses, and small cannon. The noise is deafening, a continuous roar of iron and flame. On the walls, Giustiniani Longo commands his men with calm precision. His armor is blackened with soot, his voice hoarse from shouting. Wherever the fighting is worst, he is there, rallying his Genoese and Byzantine soldiers. Emperor Constantine moves among them, sword in hand, his cloak torn and armor dented. Just before dawn, a cannonball smashes into the base of the wall near the gate of St. Romanos. Stones collapse and a section gives way. Giustiniani is hit by a fragment of iron that tears into his chest. He collapses, bleeding heavily. His men carry him away toward the harbor. The sight breaks the defenders' spirit. Rumors spread quickly. Giustiniani is dead. Morale shatters. Seeing the hesitation, Sultan Mehmed gives the order for the final wave, the Janissaries. The elite of the Ottoman Empire move forward in silence. They march in perfect order, ranks tight, under the green banners of the Prophet. Behind them, drums and horns thunder, echoing off the ruined walls. They climb over the wreckage and fallen men, shouting Allahu Akbar as they reach the breaches. The Byzantines fight desperately hand to hand. Arrows, swords, and pikes clash in the dust. The defenders hurl stones and beams, fighting not for victory but for time. Emperor Constantine rides to the weakest point, surrounded by his officers. He removes his imperial insignia, the purple cloak and golden eagle, and joins the melee as a common soldier. Witnesses later recall seeing him fighting shoulder to shoulder with his men, striking down enemies until he disappears in the crush. His body is never found. At the northern end of the wall, near a small postern known as the Kirkeporta, a handful of Ottoman soldiers find a gate left unsecured or damaged by bombardment. They slip through and climb the inner wall. Within minutes, they raise a flag above the battlements. The defenders see it and panic. Word spreads, the Turks are inside. Men abandon their positions and rush to the inner gates. Confusion turns to collapse. More Janissaries pour through the breach near St. Romanos. The last line of defense crumbles. By sunrise, the sounds of battle fade. The Ottoman banners rise above the towers. Cannon smoke drifts over the city, mixing with the morning light. The red flag of the crescent waves above the walls that once bore the double-headed eagle of Byzantium. The thousand-year empire, the last remnant of Rome, is gone. The gates of Constantinople are thrown open. The Ottoman army floods in from every direction. What begins as victory quickly turns into chaos. Soldiers swarm through the streets, shouting and looting. Resistance is brief. The defenders are exhausted, leaderless, and outnumbered. Street fighting erupts around the forums and squares. Small groups of Byzantine soldiers make last stands behind barricades, but they are cut down one by one. Fires break out as houses and churches are set alight. Civilians flee toward the heart of the city, toward the great dome of Hagia Sophia, the one place they believe might be safe. By the time the first Ottoman troops reach it, thousands have already crowded inside: men, women, children, priests, and monks. They pray aloud, singing hymns that echo against the marble walls. The massive bronze doors are closed and barred, but the soldiers break them down with axes and swords. As the doors give way, the terrified crowd falls silent. The last prayers of Byzantium end beneath the shadow of the crescent. All across the city, the same scene repeats: chaos, fear, and destruction. Fires consume whole districts. Smoke fills the air so thickly that daylight disappears. The smell of burning wood and flesh hangs over the ruins. For 3 days, the city is given over to plunder, as tradition allowed. The empire that once ruled half the world ends in noise and flame. Then on the 3rd day, Sultan Mehmed II enters through the gate of St. Romanos. He rides slowly, surrounded by his guards, through streets still choked with smoke. The young conqueror looks up at the walls that resisted so long and now stand shattered. His horse steps over rubble and bodies. There is no cheering, no music, only silence. He rides to Hagia Sophia, now filled with soldiers. Dismounting at the entrance, he commands that no more looting take place. He walks through the broken doors, looks up at the vast dome, and orders a prayer to be said. The church is to be preserved, but it will now serve as a mosque. Standing on the marble floor, Mehmed bows his head and recites a verse from the Quran. There is no God but God. He gives kingdoms to whom he wills. Afterward, he rides to the old palace of the Byzantine emperors. The halls are empty, the walls scorched. The young sultan looks around and says quietly, "What a city we have given to ruin." His officers record the words, and they will be remembered for centuries. From the ashes of Constantinople, a new city will rise: Istanbul, the capital of the Ottoman Empire. For Mehmed, this is not only conquest but creation. He orders repairs to begin immediately. Craftsmen, merchants, and scholars from across the empire are invited to settle here. Mosques and markets will replace churches and palaces. The city of Constantine becomes the city of Mehmed. But for the people who lived through that morning, there is no triumph, only loss. The sound of bells, once marking the rhythm of the empire, is gone. The streets that carried the parades of emperors now echo with the footsteps of a new world. The fall of the city marks the end of one empire and the birth of another. The walls that had stood for 1,000 years finally lie in ruins. Constantinople, the last echo of Rome, has fallen forever. The news spread slowly at first, then like wildfire. By midsummer 1453, word of Constantinople's fall reaches Venice, then Rome, then Paris, then London. Bells toll across Europe in mourning. The unthinkable has happened. The great Christian capital of the East is gone. In Rome, Pope Nicholas V calls for a new crusade, but no army comes. The kings of Europe are too divided, too cautious, or too late. The last line between Christendom and Islam has been broken, and the old crusading world has ended. Yet from this disaster comes a strange transformation. Greek scholars fleeing the city carry with them manuscripts, texts, and ideas that had been preserved for centuries. They arrive in Italy, bringing Plato, Aristotle, and the classical heritage that Western Europe had almost forgotten. The Renaissance, already stirring, is suddenly fed by the knowledge of Byzantium. From the ruins of one world, another begins to grow. Meanwhile, Sultan Mehmed II wastes no time. He rebuilds the shattered city, repairs its walls, and repopulates its streets. Merchants, craftsmen, and scholars from across his empire are invited to settle there. Mosques rise beside old churches, and the call to prayer replaces the toll of church bells. Mehmed declares himself Caesari Rum, Caesar of Rome, the heir not only to the Ottomans, but to the emperors who came before. Control of Constantinople gives the Ottomans command of the trade routes between East and West. The city becomes the richest crossroads in the world. The Eastern Orthodox Church survives under Ottoman rule, protected but bound. The medieval order of Europe is finished. The fall of Constantinople does not just end an empire, it marks the beginning of the modern age. The fall of Constantinople stands as one of history's great turning points, the true end of the Roman Empire. For more than 1,000 years after the fall of the West, Byzantium had kept Rome's memory alive, its laws, its art, its faith. On May 29, 1453, that line finally broke. But its legacy did not vanish. The Orthodox Church endured, shaping the faith of Eastern Europe and Russia. Byzantine art and architecture inspired generations long after the empire's death. Its mosaics, domes, and hymns still speak of a world that once joined heaven and earth through empire and faith. For the Ottomans, the fall was a beginning. Constantinople, now Istanbul, became the heart of a new empire that would dominate 3 continents for centuries. The city that once ruled from Rome to Antioch now ruled from Cairo to Belgrade. The seat of emperors became the seat of sultans, and history continued under a new name. For Europe, the fall was a challenge. With Ottoman power controlling the eastern trade routes, Western kingdoms turned outward, seeking paths around Africa and across the Atlantic. Within 50 years, explorers like Vasco da Gama and Columbus would change the shape of the world. The fall of Constantinople pushed Europe to the seas and began the age of exploration. In the end, the story is both triumph and tragedy, the courage of the defenders who fought to the last, and the ambition of a young sultan who dreamed of empire. Empires rise, flourish, and fall, but their echoes remain in language, in faith, in stone. On May 29, 1453, the walls of Constantinople fell, and with them, the last breath of Rome.